So I turn my podcast on, turn the volume up, push play to hear what these dudes will say. 'Cause for romance now I know that there are only hope.
What is up, people? Welcome to the next episode of A Talk to Remember. Coming live from Conway, Arkansas. It is your third of your host. Is it a quarter? Does Taylor count as a host?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a quarter of your host. Nathan McDivitt here, hailing from Conway, Arkansas. My fellow Conwaysian, the Bradley, the flamethrower tune. How are you, sir? Welcome back.
And I'm good. I've been everywhere, man. All around this world, man.
You should write a song.
That'd be good.
That's my lyric.
Yeah. Give us a little update on how you've traversed.
We took the COVID tour, one might say. Went to Alabama and flew from Florida. Went to New York, and now we're back here. Practiced a lot of social distancing. Stayed with family in one place, but loved it. So feel real relaxed.
Well, you missed a doozy. Have you seen Pitch Perfect? That's what we did last week. Have you seen that?
I have. Yes, yeah. I have.
It was a good one. We missed you, but it was a really good one that we did without you. So Julie kind of held her own.
I'm sure she did.
Okay, so from our Nashville headquarters, we've got the Taylor Anthony holding down the fort here. Taylor, it's so good to have you. I can't help but every time that I host to just recognize the value of the glue that you bring to this podcast and just how everything seems to run smoothly when you're at the helm. So thank you so much for what you do. I know I speak on behalf of all three of us and even Brandon, who's not here, and just saying that you are the greatest thing about this show. So thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And I'm Mikey Black. I'm the other host. And, Nate's right. Brandon's not here. But since Taylor is such a glue to this podcast, and he just delivers so well to us, like Nathan said. Taylor, have you seen Juno?
I think back in college 10 years ago.
We're going to tag Taylor in tonight as Brandon. And when we call on you, Taylor, you can just roll with the punches and answer our questions and help with the since you bring so much to the table. Let's just see
I have all the faith in the world in you, Taylor. I feel like even if you screwed this up, you could edit it to where you sound like the best anyway. So it's really not going to matter how much we try to throw the onus on you. I think you're still gonna deliver.
Yeah, we'll see how.
I'll try not to let you down.
He's actually called Taylor the Mailman Anthony because he always delivers.
That man always delivers.
No one is
always delivers.
Everyone says it, Mikey. Everyone but you.
Mikey, you literally told him that before we went live. You're like, Mikey, Taylor, I'm just so glad that you always deliver. We should start calling you the mailman. Why are you acting now like it's not true?
One thing that I can say about the people who listen to this podcast, it is that they know beyond a shadow of a doubt I would never compliment that man. That's the one thing they know. The one thing. So
yeah, hopefully it's more than that, but that's what. All right, so this movie that we're covering this week is I'm not sure it's like any other movie that we've done in that it's very indie. Have we done a movie quite like this, guys? What would you say the most indie movie that we've done?
I think that other than this, the most indie movie was the summer, 500 Days.
500 Days of Summer.
Yeah. Okay.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding kind of indie, wasn't it?
No, not like this. Taylor, you're already
off. Feel versus actually.
I think you're right, Taylor. I think My Big Fat Greek Wedding might be the most indie movie that we've ever done. What did I say?
Just the way you pronounced it was so weird.
I did feel like I swallowed a word while I was saying it, so it was kind of interesting. But we're doing Juno, which debuted 2007 with the main actress being Ellen Page. Now, I'll say this. For being indie, I look at the IMDb says that this is. I think the budget for this film was like $3.5 million or something like that. Taylor, can you fact check me on that? Something really small. 6.5. And it grossed like hundreds of millions. Am I right?
231.
What was it? 231.
Yeah.
Best picture that year. Like,
it's incredible.
Not best picture, best screenplay.
Best screenplay. Well, and we had Jones on. What did he say the screenplay was in relation to like best movie?
So, I mean, screenplay is just like basically the script.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Well, okay, so that makes sense. So I read, J.K. Simmons is in this, and he and Jennifer Garner both turned down like they like a fraction of what they would have normally like been charged or whatever. I don't know how you do that. Like, but they turned in a fraction of that so that they could be a part of this indie film, which kind of blows my mind because I don't know. It did the screenplay, I guess, didn't really shock me. Like it wasn't so over the top, but all of these big name actors and actresses, they believed in it enough to take a huge pay cut in order to make it happen. And they filmed this thing in 30 days. Can you believe that? They filmed this movie in 30 days.
Wow.
I want, like, you said 2007?
Yeah.
I wonder if in 2007, because I'm trying to remember, and I mean, I know we're not going to be able to say off the top of our heads, but like, were there really any like female-driven movies that weren't love stories? Like, because this isn't like your typical love story. This is just like a young girl who's like, who controls every scene she's in. Like, she's the powerhouse performance of the movie. I don't know. I wonder if there were a lot of those then, and that's what, like, people thought, hey, this would be a cool thing to be a part of. Because I can't really...
I don't know. Sounds like some research someone could do and let us know later. But any of y'all seen it before today?
I have.
Or before this week?
Not
Taylor had?
fully.
Okay. I saw it. And I saw it a few times. I was a big fan. I like the movie. I think I saw it in theaters. Anyway, it was a good. Anyway, we can get started. I guess I'm not even sure that I looked at the poster. So either way, I'm curious to see what you guys think. Taylor, you got the poster for us?
I do.
I knew he did.
Share.
I'm not seeing anything. So
Yeah, he did. He's working on it. There you go. All right, Mikey.
yeah. So going into this movie, like, I knew it was. I mean, this is what I knew about it. I knew Juno was about a girl who was pregnant, and I knew that it had Michael Cera in it, who to me is like Pinocchio in human form. And I thought, like, I look at this poster and I thought this is going to be like a female Napoleon Dynamite, is what I thought this was.
The poster gives off that vibe for sure.
And so I'll be honest, before I ever hit play, just looking at the poster, I thought, man, Napoleon Dynamite was fine. I just didn't know if I could watch a whole movie and critique a whole female movie version of that. So that's what I thought this was, and I wasn't excited. So
Yikes.
Yeah.
Bradley, what about you, man?
I mean, somewhat in the same vein. I mean, I've never thought of Michael Cera's Pocahontas. I'm not. I said Pocahontas.
Me either.
Pinocchio in human form, but Michael Cera is a great actor, but he's weird, and this movie just doesn't pull any punches. Juno is wearing a shirt, zip-up jacket, skirt, and then jeans, and then like these shoes. It gives off a very unique, kind of weird vibe. So I really did. I think Napoleon Dynamite with a female lead is a really accurate way to assume based on the poster.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know how you could look at this poster and not think anything else than like exactly what it is. You know, like it's a teenage girl who's pregnant with the high schooler with skies out, thighs out, like nobody wouldn't believe. Michael Cera rocking his running shorts. I don't know how you could think it's anything other than. I mean, maybe I didn't even know Juno was. I didn't know if it was named a boy or a girl, probably until the movie started. But if you knew that, maybe you would know who's probably the lead.
And before you take it down, even like the orange and white being the color scheme with the stripes, and then the way Juno is almost like animated. Yeah, you would almost think this is a Nickelodeon. Like,
yeah.
I wonder if that screwed any kids up. Like,
boy, they got in. They were in for a treat if they watched this thinking it was a Nickelodeon film. But if you look at the top, look, it's got Ellen Page, Michael Cera, Jennifer Garner, Jason Bateman, Allison Janney, and J.K. Simmons. I mean, that maybe outside of Ellen Page and Michael Cera, I mean, those are pretty. All of those have been in some pretty significant films, right?
Sure, absolutely. So
yeah, it's just, to me, it's just fascinating. Like, it does look very like indie, kind of put together, and I don't know how much, what else you could draw from that without completely lying or stretching the imagination. So there you have it, the poster. Juno, what do you think? You want to start off with the plot?
Yeah, Taylor, what did you think of the poster? Go ahead.
Sure. So if I reshare it for everyone who's watching, I thought there was a possibility that this was am I sharing the wrong screen?
You're doing great. You're fantastic. Yeah.
Whatever. We'll just forget that part. I thought this might be a prequel to one of my all-time favorite movies, Dodgeball.
Pride and Prejudice.
Just by looking at how Michael Cera was dressed, I thought maybe the baby that's obviously inside of Ellen Page was Patches O'Houlihan. And this was his origin story. But I was very, very wrong.
Yeah.
And yet
that is an incredible movie poster get. Mikey is trying so hard to swallow a smile right now. I think his screen is frozen, I think. No, I'm kidding. Okay. All right. Taylor, let's jump into the plot.
All right. So 16-year-old Minnesota high schooler Juno McGuff decides to lose her virginity to her boyfriend and longtime admirer, Paulie Bleecker. Soon after, she realizes she is pregnant. She initially considers an abortion. Going to a local clinic run by a women's group, she encounters a schoolmate outside who is holding a one-person pro-life vigil. Once inside, however, a variety of factors lead Juno to leave. She decides to give the baby up for adoption instead. With the help of her friend Leah, Juno searches the ads in the Penny Saver and finds a couple she feels will provide a suitable home. She tells her father, Mac, and stepmother, Bren, who offer their support. With Mac, Juno meets the couple, Mark and Vanessa Loring, in their expensive home and agrees to a closed adoption.
Holy moly.
Okay.
We covered a lot of ground.
When this movie started, I remember the first thing you see is it's like, again, cartoon written, whatever season it started in. I can't remember what it was. But I thought, all right, I'm 100% right on what I think this movie is. It's going to be a quirky, even like the credits went cartoony. And I thought, and the first scene I remember with Ellen Page is she's standing outside looking at a chair that's like sitting in front of somebody's yard, and she starts screaming at a dog.
She's chugging orange juice.
Sunny D. Yeah.
She said, "Geez, banana, shut your big gob."
Like Napoleon did that llama. And I thought, this is going to be identical. So I'm going to be honest, up until the credits, I thought, yeah, I hate this. I'm out. I tuned out. So that's what I took right from the get-go. I know we've got a lot to cover, but
she chugged 2.8 liters of Sunny D. That is an insane amount of liquid for a 4'11" person to take in.
And then she goes to that grocery store, or that
gas station,
whatever it was. And what a weird Dwight cameo.
Oh my
gosh. That was one of my favorite scenes of the movie, though, because every time he opened his mouth, it was just a zinger, and they all hit. They all landed, I think.
That's one of my favorite lines. And I remember we in college, we would drop that line all the time. Like, boy, that ain't no etch a sketch, girl. That's one doodle that can't be undid. Like, that is just such a classic line. She's looking at the pregnancy test, It's
Your
positive.
ego is prego.
Your ego's prego. I mean, he is. That's like. I mean, like that's Dwight. He is Dwight if Dwight never sells paper and gets on drugs and ends up working at the local gas station, the convenience store.
I wonder, like, if when they wrote this movie, though, they thought, I know that this scene is literally a minute and a half of the movie, but we've got to get somebody people are going to love for that, because it just felt so weird that Dwight was unnamed character number one. Like,
well, in 2007, when did The Office start?
2000.
Like, would he have been? I mean, now we like 13 years later, Dwight is Dwight, but like,
right.
has The Office really taken off at this point?
This is like season 3, season 4 time. It started in 2005.
Okay.
Started in 2005, so it's probably season 3.
Yeah. So he's known. I mean, he's definitely a known household name at that point.
Well, I don't know. I don't think The Office was a hit until later, right?
Oh, it's hard for me to tell because those were the golden years, but I don't know if that was the.
I mean, when did you all start watching it?
I didn't start watching it till probably. I mean, it was way late into it.
I was like season 6 or season 7. Like,
yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it might be. I think it might be just one of those things where he, you know, but also at the same time, there's so many other big name actors in here that play a little part. It doesn't surprise me that they would.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of surprising, but it was definitely interesting to see Dwight 13 years later when we're on this side of the office, and it's like that is such a weird place for him to be. It's like
I was not expecting it.
Like what's it? Jay and Silent Bob. It almost had that feel where it's like the nothing. Like what in the world? So yeah. So they leave the gas station, and then it turns out, Mikey, what was the chair? What was the chair all about in the middle of the yard?
So that's where they had sandwiches. Was it that chair?
Yeah.
I've never put that together until right now. But there you go.
Yeah, that's where, and which is just, yeah, I don't know. Again, it's so weird for me, like, that he's the guy that impregnated this girl. I know she played a 16-year-old too, but like, he is eternally 14 to me. Like, yeah. I don't care if that dude's 35, 36 years old. He will always look like a 14-year-old awkward boy.
Well, and he's so soft spoken. Like even I mean, at least in the roles that I've seen him in, like he's just very like he's not very commanding of a room. Like he's just very meek and soft spoken. I guess
I wrote that Michael Cera might be the world's most timid man. Like, and I mean, I would never want anyone to say that about me, but that's what he is like. Well,
the reason why I asked you what that chair was, she like creates this like den scene where it's like a huge tiger rug. She's sitting in the chair, I guess, where they made sandwiches with a lamp, and she has a little fake pipe, and she's just waiting on him when he walks out the door for his early morning cross country practice, and just like, I mean, drops the bomb. Hey,
and it's not weird to him at all that she's sitting there doing that. Like,
it's weird for everybody else, I think. But
I mean, he's munching on a Hot Pocket before running 4 to 6 miles. You know, that's another thing that just
just straight carb loading.
This is very weird.
What do you think of this scene?
What'd you say, Nate?
Ask Taylor what he thought of this scene.
I think you guys have pretty well covered it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there was one line, Taylor, that you had said to me that you really liked, and it was whenever she said, wow, your shorts are looking really bright today. And he said, yeah, my mom uses Color Safe bleach. And I was just like, that's so good. That's so funny.
Nate, I appreciate how you remember our conversations.
Yeah, I do. It was really good. I was surprised you didn't say that. You must have gotten distracted by Charlie barking. Or
it comes better when it comes from you.
Or is that Cooper? I don't know who that was. But anyway, so then it transitions from that scene to she's at school, right?
Right.
Okay.
And they are at they're in like science at this lab where, again, the couple across them, you can't convince me that's not Napoleon Dynamite. Like, that kid may as well have been his little brother.
Yeah, that whole scene is just such an awkward, drama-filled scene. It's like Juno and the guy and the baby's father are lab partners with this other couple who are dating, but one has a brother that's in college. The boy has a brother that's in college, and I mean, they are just so. I mean, it's classic. Like it was just so awkward. I loved it every second of that, every single second of that.
Bradley, did you love it?
No, I did not. I just and I don't like. I like Napoleon Dynamite, like that type of awkward. But I mean, and I think it's just because it's such an interesting dynamic with. Do we know Michael Cera's name? Just so I don't keep calling
Polly Bleeker.
Bleeker. With Bleeker and Juno, because she is so strong and she has zero filter and she's weird as heck and she embraces it and whatever she thinks it feels. Just to real quick, like return to that, like no one in this known universe would create a living room scene with a tiger rug in a front yard with a fake pipe. Nobody. And yet she does. And so I think she's a great actress. I think that she owned it, but it's so like upfront, like I'm weird. I'm going to say real awkward things and inopportune times. It caught me off guard. So it's just really unique, man. And I tend to sometimes squirm a little bit in those moments where some embrace. So I can see how some enjoy it a lot. I did not.
Did you watch The Tiger King?
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like Juno and Bleeker grew up to be Baskins and that other weird little feminine husband man she has. Like,
whoa.
Stands in the back.
That is something we should investigate later.
Like, I mean, Tiger Rug, come on. It all just points back.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, if it was a lion rug, I mean, we wouldn't have never thought twice. But because it was a tiger, it's for sure. Yeah.
100%.
I
mean,
get it.
he is that guy. Like, he just needs that more powerful woman.
Yeah, wow. That dude, you are throwing zingers, Mikey. My goodness, what? Michael Cera has a family. What are you like? What are you, God? You're just crushing the guy.
It's like, I don't know. I don't respect him.
I will say this. So there are moments in this movie that watching it I don't know how many times I've seen it, just like probably 4 or 5, but watching it, there's some things that I picked up on that I thought, oh, that's a really cool thing. And every scene where she's in school, like walking, she's always walking against the grain, which is very like true to her. Like everybody's partying, even when she's pregnant and she's walking through the halls, like they're all partying. And I wrote down, the girl is always going against the grain, which I think would be true for her life in so many different ways. But I picked up on that. That's before that she goes to class or whatever. But that is something that I wanted to point out. So she leaves school, and I guess there after school she tells her best friend Leah, and then that's when she
calls her with the burger phone, the old hamburger phone.
Yeah,
Brandon would have loved that.
Oh, he would have loved it.
That would have been
Taylor. Since Brandon's out, could you what would Brandon have said about that hamburger phone? What do you think he would have said?
Oh my gosh, I just saw that and I just got so hungry, and I was trying to figure out if it was an actual sesame seed bun on there, or do you think that maybe there's an impossible version of that phone, or because I wouldn't want that. That'd just be horrible. Mikey, what do you think? That was pretty good.
That was fine.
There we go. Yeah, that was incredible. That was really good. I had something to say and I just forgot it because that was so astute. Astute. Yeah, so good. So she tells her friend Leah, and this is where one of the things about this movie that I don't love, but I also get, they gloss over some really, really heavy things on the way to realizing what the whole movie's about, which is about her having this baby, whatever. But there was a point where obviously she was going to get an abortion. So she was brainstorming with Leah which one to go to. And she I mean, just the way she talked, this is not funny. It's not funny. Abortion is not funny, but she's just Leah's giving off the couple ones, the different names. And she's like, yeah, I think I'm going to go to Women Now because they tend to help women now, fairly quickly. And they're just these little quips that she said. But she ends up going to Women Now, and there's this girl, I forgot her name, Susie Q. That's her name. Sue Chin. So Sue Chin is the only one protesting I love the way that the Wikipedia said it. It was a one man vigil, which I thought was a classic way to put that. So she's performing this one person vigil. She's saying like, "All babies deserve to be born." And do you remember what she said as Juno was walking? They have this exchange, and there are a couple things in this exchange that really tell you a lot about. At least they told me a lot about Juno. The first one was, do you remember this whole? She talks about how they've seen this one person freak out because they had all these medicines mixed up or whatever. And she was talking, and what did Sue Jin say?
It was Juno.
It was Juno. So she's been through like. That should tell us a little bit about like she's been through a lot with depression and all those things and having to take a lot of medicine. So she's just been through a lot, and which again tell us to why she's so quirky. I think give us insight to how quirky she is or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then she heads into the abortion clinic, and what was the last thing that the girl said as she was walking in? Do you remember?
What was that, Taylor? The last thing that she said when she was walking in?
Taylor, when we were texting, you told me you texted me saying, "I loved the part when she walked in, Soo Chin was yelling that the baby has fingernails." Right? Do something about fingernails.
I hate that you're pulling him out of it.
I've got these receipts, these text receipts about fingernails. So,
I see it. Yeah. Oh, that's good. But then, so she goes in, and it said the Wikipedia article says that she there's a lot of factors that play into it. But what I picked up on was everything had to do with fingernails. Did you all pick up on that?
Yeah,
I just thought that was really cool. Like she the last thing she's thinking about that Soo Jin said was, she probably has fingernails now. And then like the girls chewing her fingernails, one of the girls painting her fingernails, one girl's like clipping her fingernails, somebody else is like doing the fingernails on a book. And it was cool to me how they drew all of that into like kind of overwhelm Juno to where she was like, yeah, I can't do this. And she ended up bailing on it, which again, it was, they really glossed over this whole at the ethics behind all of that outside of Soo Jin, like everything they kind of glossed over that, which I thought was, I don't know. That's not what the movie was about, and so, but it was still just like, I wasn't crazy about how they just like acted like that was just another thing.
That's Hollywood, though.
Yeah,
like that's very Hollywood. So.
Where did we leave off? So oh my gosh! So they actually go.
Yeah, we meet the couple. She the point where she goes home and has to talk
with her parents, which her dad and her stepmom, and like her dad is J.K. Simmons. Now I don't know if you guys know who J.K. Simmons is. Dude's been in everything. What's the drummer movie? The what? The drummer movie? Whiplash. Where he's like. Bad dude, man. He's a bad man. He is a bad man. So I'm thinking, and this is just where my mind goes, but I'm looking at him in that chair, and I'm like, this is a guy who's going to lose. Like, he is a man's man, J.K. Simmons. And so I'm thinking he is going to blow his gasket when she explains this to him. And this whole movie, like, she's going to have this. Like, in my mind, I'm just thinking it's going to be her and her dad, like, him letting her know he loves her still throughout. But, like, it does not go that way at all. Like, they're there. They hear it. She even tells him she's found a couple. And he says, hey, I'll go with you. He says one thing, and I'm trying to remember exactly how he words it, where he's like, I thought you were the kind of girl who would stay out of stuff like this or something like that. And which, like, that's the one moment where she realizes he's disappointed, and she's like, I don't know what kind of girl I am, and goes upstairs. But like, other than that, I thought, like, all things considered, where I thought the movie would go, parents handled it like champs. Like, they were just there. No matter what they felt about it, they were just there. And I think a lot of times they would write that differently to where they wouldn't be. Brother, what you got?
Yeah, I think that honestly, before the abortion clinic scene, before we don't see any adults really, and so it was almost like I thought, is this going to be like that Charlie Brown-esque kind of deal where we just the kids run the show and you don't see really any deal. You don't see any adults take any but it doesn't, and it goes to the parents. But I really thought her relationship with her dad was unique, and this takes a different spin at, abandonment and a little bit of a broken home, and the fact that the mom is the one that abandons the family when so many times we see it's the male, it's the dad, and you get this vibe very early on that she's not the biggest fan of her stepmom, that she's just kind of there. She's never done anything wrong, but she's just kind of got this she's not a big fan of her. But I agree. J.K. Simmons is awesome. He's like gruff, but knows how to deal with his gruffness in a kind way. And so I really appreciated his character a lot. But it was the dynamic between the stepmom and Juno was really cool to see just how that developed over the movie.
For sure.
Yeah. So the whole telling the parents happens, and her best friend Leah is there as well, and they do bring up Bleecker, and J.K. Simmons, he's like, "Wow, I didn't think he had it in him," which I thought was just classic. And Leah laughs and whatever, and it is like, I don't know. Anyway, so then they go. J.K. Simmons, what's his name? I forget. Mac McGuff.
Mac.
Right? He drives Juno to the adoptive parents.
This was another just such an indie artsy scene where it's like van drives by a house, van drives by a different house, van drives by different, like, what a weird way to do that.
It's the most indie van of all time. The round Astro van was just it fit the movie. You couldn't have picked a better vehicle for the movie.
I had such a hard time deciding when this movie was supposed to be like dated. Like when was this when was the setting for this movie? Mm-hmm. And I remember, I think I wrote it down somewhere. I haven't gotten there yet apparently. But something gives us a clue to where it's like it's fairly recent. If it's not 2007, it's right around then. Like it's not like it was set in the 80s, which is very strange because I feel like the way everybody dresses was, and the van, and I don't know, it just seemed
still on house phones.
Yeah.
No cell phones at all. But so they get to the house, and the prospective parents, Mark and Lori, are Jennifer Gardner and Jason Bateman. What was the vibe you got from Jason Bateman, Mikey?
I liked him a lot. I thought, because it's like, and it's just because of the dynamic. When you meet Garner, she is by the book. Mm-hmm. She's prim and proper. She seems like the fun killer. And then you see this guy, and he's just like, when she meets him upstairs, and he was in a band, they're listening to music, they're playing guitar. Like, I thought, this is like for her to see, all right, this baby's gonna have a cool, and this is just from the movie, like this point in the movie. But I'm like, all right. Bad. I thought, like, I really liked the idea of that friendship, because I thought, man, they're gonna build this like rapport, and she's gonna be in this baby's life because he's so cool. And so in that moment, I really, really, really liked Jason Bateman. Yeah. He just seemed like the kind of dude that was happy to be here.
Yeah. What did you think, Bradley, about this whole interaction? You could take us further along the plot too, like what about the whole meeting and whatnot.
Just shows again that, like, and I appreciate it, but I'm also weirded out by it that she is just her unapologetically all the time. I mean, like, and maybe it's how I was raised or whatever, but like, she has zero concern for the response of adults, like as a 16-year-old. And you're right. We get a clue to her background, so she may have just bypassed all that. And you take a deep dive psychologically, but she just like makes jokes about the pregnancy pretty much all the time. And you can tell, like, from a fairly deep perspective, just how, like, you see two big dynamics. You see a woman who you can kind of tell really wants a baby. And, like, she is high-strung, but she is just so desperate to have this child. And Juno, who's like, let's just get the kid out of the oven, like, and there is a dynamic there that you can tell is kind of going against one another. So that was a big thing for me. And
she even says, I think, is it Lori? Is her name, Jennifer Garner's character? Mm-hmm. She even says, like, at one point, I was made to be a mom. Like, yeah. People were made to be whatever, but like I was made to be a mom. And we get clues of that later. And it's just clear that, like, there's some infertility stuff there, and it's just clear that she just so desperately wants to be a mother. And I just began to immediately feel for feel that weight of of all that. And so, like you said, I know she was really cavalier, Juno was, in the way she handled it all, but ultimately, it was a good situation, and that she wanted this family to raise the child, and that meeting went so well, and she connected with Jason Bateman in a really cool way at first, and then it gets really creepy later, but in a really cool way at first, they connected, and almost you're like, okay, great, this is really cool, and then that's kind of the meeting right there.
Yeah, and I think it does a really good job of this is a 16-year-old. She's pregnant. She's trying to make the best of it. And the way she does is by humor and all these things. Yeah. But she doesn't really know. We can go back to when we were 16. We don't, for lack of a better phrase, we don't really get how the world works in some ways and how we need to interact with people. And so you see this girl coming from her perspective, and then Jennifer Gardner, who they said, I think in the movie, they've been trying for years, I think
5 years.
Is what they said. And so to see those two worlds collide, I thought the movie did a good job of showing those perspectives. The one thing, Mikey, I'll let you go. I'm sorry. The one line I love from J.K. Simmons is when they were upstairs and he was like, "What's that?" And she said, "A Pilates machine." He goes, "What do you make with that?" And it was just so perfectly timed. I just thought it was so good. And she said, "What did you ever think of something you were made to be or do?" And he goes, "Made for HVACs."
Heating and air, baby.
Made heating and air. And I just thought this might be my favorite. I mean, he is just so on point. It was really good.
Yeah.
All I was going to say was and I see what you're saying. Here's the thing. I think if I watch this movie again, knowing how it ends, I would see things differently. But I got my notes because it was the first time I watched it. And so I did not see Garner that way at first. In my mind, I thought, man, she's going to be the one that I don't care much for. I didn't see a woman that desperately wanted a baby. I saw a control freak. And I was just you got this guy who's going to be the fun-loving, and then you got her who's just I thought I was going to struggle with her most of the movie.
Jennifer Garner or Juno?
Yeah. Okay. Jennifer Garner. And I was just
I could see that.
This is just going to be a character I'm not going to care for, is basically what I thought. And so, obviously, that does not end up being the case. Yeah. That's how it started.
So, okay, well, before we move the plot, what do you say we throw it over to the coffee house, Mikey? Do you want to give a little plug for him?
I think we should. Taylor, hit that commercial.
Okay.
Hello, Talk to Remember friends. It's me, Haley. I've been on some podcast episodes before. Maybe you remember. Maybe you don't. It's okay. But what you probably do remember is the Coffee House. We're the sponsors of this podcast. And something that we wanted to let you know, it's super exciting. We're reopening Monday, May 4th. Here's a little information about that. So we will be open to in-dining, limited capacity, but we will also be offering curbside. So just give us a call at the coffee house and tell us you want it curbside, and we'll bring it to you. Look out for some themed drinks that we're going to be doing with the guys from Talk to Remember. Follow us at the Coffee House Franklin on Instagram. Our address is 144 2nd Avenue North. If you get confused, there's a little construction going on. See the construction? You're at the coffee house. That's the coffee house in downtown Franklin.
And we're back. Thank you to our friends at the coffee house. You guys need to hit downtown Franklin. It's 2nd and Bridge, right? That's it? 2nd Bridge, hit them up. You won't regret it. Let's get back to the movie. Are we moving on to another paragraph?
I think so.
All right, take us on.
So Juno visits Mark a few times, with whom she shares tastes in punk rock and horror films. Mark, who has set aside his rock band youth, now confined to memorabilia displayed in the one room of the house that Vanessa has designated for Mark's personal belongings, works at home composing commercial jingles. Juno and Leah happen to see Vanessa in a shopping mall being completely at ease with the child, and Juno encourages Vanessa to talk to her baby in the womb where it kicks for her. As the pregnancy progresses, Juno struggles with the emotions she feels for the baby's father, Polly, who is clearly in love with her. Juno maintains an outwardly indifferent attitude toward him, but when she learns he has asked another girl to the upcoming prom, she confronts him in a jealous rage. Polly reminds Juno that it is at her request they remain distant and tells her she broke his heart.
Okay, before we get to the her and Bateman getting kind of close, I think the first scene that really happens here is you see freaking Pinocchio running the track, and VJ walks up to him. This is what in the whole movie where this dude is like, "Hey man, did you hear about Juno?" And he's like, "Yeah." "Did you hear you're the father?" Like, I just love. Like, had he not, just the way dude was so cavalier with it.
Wait, but hold on, man. He then goes on. He goes, "You know, you should grow out your mustache." Talking to Pinocchio, and then he says, "I think I'm going to stop wearing underwear. I'm trying to raise my sperm count." That's what he said. It's like in that whole running exchange. That was one of the weirdest thing in the world. But
and then he's gone.
And we never see him again. But we remember him. Gone but not forgotten.
Right.
Yeah, that's classic. Before we move on to I think we could probably spend some time on Jennifer. How about we do this? What if we do I want to say something about Bryn first, but then we talk about Jennifer first, and then we'll come back to her and Bateman's relationship. You cool with that after the next paragraph? Are you cool with that? Okay.
Yeah.
So the part I'm going to say about Bryn, they go to what's that called? Ultrasound, and the technician like smarts off or says something that she says, she's going to go up to adoption, and the technician says something like, "Well, thank goodness," or something like that. She said, "Thank goodness," and it caught me off. Like, I was like, that's but then her mom kind of jumps in, or stepmom Bryn jumps in, and this is kind of when you see their relationship kind of turn. Bryn turns into a champ, and she kind of goes to bat for her, and it's like, "Hey, what's your job again?" She said, "I'm a radiologist technician," or something like that. She goes, "Well, I'm a nail technician. Why don't we just stick to what we do and leave the words out of it?" But then she says really something. Good. She speaks up. She said something that's just so true. Like, words matter. Like, words matter, and the way you say things matter. And you don't need to be saying crap like that to people who are making a good decision. And I just thought that was so great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Might have been the best scene in the movie.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I love it, man. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we gave Bryn her shout out. So
for sure.
So now let's skip over the Bateman side of things, because things get weird in a second, and we can talk about that whole progression after the next paragraph. But this is where we see kind of, Mikey, I'm curious. You had mentioned Jennifer Gardner, like how she kind of gave off this weird vibe for you. What did you think in this part?
Yeah, this is when she won
shopping mall.
When they're above and they look down and see her, and like it's not even her kid, but she's just like just the way she lights up around it, and like I thought, okay, that's when it started clicking with me. Like, yeah, she's kind of uptight, and yeah, but it's because this has failed so many times. Like, she just wants to win this time, and so like I was Team Gardner from here on out.
Yeah,
not even a question.
Bradley, what about you? What'd you think of that whole scene?
And it was good. It was good. It was a good scene, and it just really highlighted a woman who, it was just really good. She got emotional about a kid and wanted to have a baby, and it was a very good scene, I think. So I said nothing there, but I echoed what Mike said. So
that's good. That's great.
Another thing I did take from the mall scene, though, like the convo at the mall, was, and I think this is what we almost have to call this episode, but she was talking to, was it Vanessa? Is that her name?
Leah. Who you talking about?
Best friend?
No.
The best friend or the mom?
Mom.
Lori.
Oh, mom.
Isn't it Lori? Mark and Lori?
Yeah, probably Lori. But she was talking to her, and I can't remember exactly what was said, but she was like, "No, at school they called me the cautionary whale." And I thought, the most brilliant line.
It's funny. That's something that the movie did. I was surprised that the movie did not go through that part of it really, and
The school,
the school, how she reacted to all these people that didn't. I mean, it seemed like she took it in stride, but you don't see the process of that. You know what I mean? I was very surprised about that.
Yeah, that line though was just like,
oh, it was amazing.
Just another one of her quips, but it was just so brilliant. And I thought if we didn't call it that, we were dropping the ball. So I took that. Yeah.
Okay, so let's touch on the Bleecker, her and Bleeker's interaction with what's her name, with the stink eye. What's her? Katie DeVort or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Is it Katie DeVort? I don't know what her name. But anyway, so he asked another girl to prom because Juno is so nonchalant about the whole relationship. Polly is clearly into her, but she's just so whatever. And so they have this little showdown where he's asked another girl, and he's like, "You don't even like me. You basically told me to get away, and you broke my heart first," like something like that.
Talk about that happened in his bedroom with his race car bed. Dude's a human. Like, we can't talk enough about how Muppet-esque Michael Cera is. Like,
and so he also had a hamburger phone. I don't know if you picked up on that in the background.
I didn't see it.
He has a hamburger phone as well. I'm on it. So they're matched made in heaven, or matched made in.
I feel like this is the moment he called her out and kind of stood his ground, and it was the most. I put that in my notes. The most timid and meek calling out of another human being and standing up for yourself I'd ever say. I mean, he was like, "Well, you just never were there for me," and I just.
It was like when
I was like, "You're being direct, but you're being real soft spoken about it, man." Like, it was so wild.
She got reprimanded by a My American Girl doll.
That's so good.
I can't take you hating on Paulie like that. I hate that. I hate you all doing that. So let's move to Bateman. Okay, Taylor, read the next paragraph, and I can't wait for y'all to destroy Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
So not long before her baby is due, Juno is again visiting Mark when their interaction becomes emotional. Mark then tells her he will be leaving Vanessa to figure his life out. Juno is horrified by this revelation, with Mark asking Juno, "How do you think of me?" revealing he is starting to develop feelings for her. Vanessa arrives home, and Mark tells her he does not feel ready to be a father and there are still things he wants to do first. Juno watches the Loring marriage fall apart, then drives away and breaks down in tears by the side of the road. Returning to the Loring's home, she leaves a note and disappears as they answer the door.
Yeah, so
Bradley, let's let Bradley tee off.
Man, I don't know. Mikey's chomping at the bit, man. I'll let Mikey go.
I mean, I think we can both, but I just feel like before we get to Bateman, we need to do some lead in. So to get that dynamic, because we're all going to tear him apart.
Yeah.
But like, we need to talk about, before we talk about how big of a screw up he is, like the nursery. When she is wanting to paint the nursery and put a picture of them above it, and he's just he just doesn't care. He's like, I think it's too soon to be thinking about this nursery. And then there was another part. I want to say it might have been the first. No, okay, so it's after the first time she comes to visit, and they're watching the horror movies, and we'll talk about that too. But Vanessa comes home, and she's like, "Man, you bought all this stuff. I thought that's what a baby shower was for." And he says, "We probably aren't going to have a baby shower." In a sense where it sounded like they'd been down this road before. And I, watching the movie, thought it might have been that whoever was going to give him the baby, like, backed out at the last minute. But then now I wonder if it's not, if it's been him every time. Like, every time she gets close, he kills her dream. And so I wrote that down. So I just wanted to do those like little lead-in things, because we're about to bash this man.
Yeah, but hold on, Brad. Before you go, I didn't pick up on that. I didn't really feel that that it was him. That I thought it was that, and I get, like, we adopted Zoe. Like, we had a couple of failed adoptions. I felt like that it was the failed adoptions that someone. I think she even says something about someone changed their mind. Is that
all was said? And it was him. Was he said, because they said, yeah, something along the lines, we've been down this road before, and he goes, yeah, cold feet got in the way. And that's how they left it. Wow. They didn't say who got cold feet.
Man,
And
that's a good
so,
catch. I just went straight to I just assumed that it was the.
which I think they want you to, but after
It's an
you
interesting
see it-
look, though. They shared this look like there's something more to this. Yeah.
Bradley.
And then,
Rip this man apart.
well, my only thing for the lead-in was that I got some weird vibes. Not necessarily the weird vibes that it turned out to be, but I could tell it was more. The wife wanted the baby more. I mean, even at the beginning, he was like, they kind of created that scene where Juno was like, I mean, aren't you ecstatic? Like, I'm giving you the gift of life here, man. Like, she calls everybody man. Like, even people that are like 40 years older than her, which I don't know how I feel.
That's weird, man. That's weird, man.
Yeah, but when he says that, he's like, yeah, excited to be a dad, like, all this stuff, whatever. And I'm just like, man, he's obviously, and so that's when I thought we're going to go through a journey of him not really wanting to, but then coming around to being, I don't know. That's what I thought. Let me tell you what didn't happen. That.
One last thing, because we're gonna. But even stepmom Bryn, before we get to this relationship, she tried to warn Juno. She said, "You cannot be going over there and doing this with another woman's husband." Even to a 16-year-old girl, she was telling her, "This is not something you need to be doing." But Juno just thought I think she may have had a crush on him, but at the same time, I think she just thought he was a cool dude. Like,
I don't think that there was a crush thing at all.
But that made me wonder.
The what?
I don't know, man.
The dance. Like when she starts putting her head and like, I don't know, there may have been something, because he's a dude that's an older dude that has all her interests.
I think I just was so locked into him being just the scum of the earth. I gave her a pass on that, and went to. Yeah.
So let's let him have it. Taylor, I know this had to affect you. What did you think about all this?
I mean, it was kind of heartbreaking because I really love Jason Bateman, and because he plays such a great dad role as Michael Bluth in Arrested Development, which also features Michael Cera as George Michael, Jason Bateman's son in that show. And it was heartbreaking to see a character.
Yeah, when you mentioned at the break, go ahead. You tell them what they said at the break.
Well, it's funny. For the past just month, Taylor and I were like, well, let's FaceTime for lunch every second Monday of the month. Let's just do it. And
it's been great.
So we're FaceTiming, and he was talking about Bateman in this specific scene and how just messed up he was from the fact that he shows this horror movie. And it's obviously they've connected as far as we get each other. We have the same interests. They're sitting on that couch, and there's this weird, prolonged stare down right before, Lori. Is that the wife's name?
Vanessa. I was wrong.
Vanessa. Gotcha.
Lori is the last name.
Gotcha. Well, when Vanessa comes home, he's shutting everything down. It's he starts kind of bashing her. And then I'm like, man, this is taking a turn. I don't like
Do you
it.
remember what he said, though?
He said, she doesn't like me sitting around and not contributing. Is that what you're talking about?
When I started to get the creepy vibe, is they're sitting there, they're watching this horror movie, and she says, "What are you going to name the kid?" And she says, "Well, if it's a girl," or he says, "If it's a girl, we want to name it Matt," or she wants
Vanessa
to name it.
wants to name it Madison.
And Juno obviously hated that, and he was like, "Well, not everybody can be Juno." Then she explained how she got her name. And she said, "My dad wanted to name me after Zeus's wife because she was strong and beautiful." And that's when he lingers the look.
Yeah.
And said, "I can see that." And
yes,
just at that moment, that's when it flips in your head that you're like, this dude is trash.
And what's weird about that is that's not Zeus's wife's name. Zeus's wife's name is Hera. Juno is the Roman equivalent. Jupiter would be.
That is a dynamite drop-in, Taylor.
Wow!
I cannot
hold the phone.
I didn't think you had it in you. That was incredible.
I didn't have this pulled up because I thought it was interesting, though, because I was trying to figure out what made me something click with that name.
Yeah.
So, no, I had this pulled up before we started the podcast. So Juno is the wife of Jupiter, queen of heaven. And then get this, she's the goddess of light, birth, women, and marriage, which is, on the women and birth end, a little bit fitting for the movie. I don't know if that was intentional or not.
What are the odds that women in birth? That's not a good drop in.
It's a great drop in. Dynamite. Okay, so here's where, and this wasn't where I thought it was creepy, but this is just, if this doesn't sum up like Jason Bateman's creepiness towards us all, like if the dance, if you're going to give him a pass on the dance, if you're going to give him a pass on watching movies with a 16-year-old girl, giving her CDs to listen to, like if you're going to pass on, when he gives her a pregnant woman superhero comic book, like that's when I'm like, listen, my dude, that you have taken this way too far. Like, just stop. Like I don't know. I think the world could be saved of a lot of problems with just a smidgen of self-awareness from people. And it's just clear in this moment, like he just does not. I mean, he just has none. He just does. You don't do that.
See, I don't know. I think he's aware. And I think he's just looking for something because, I mean, he is built, man. I don't like this word, but I think he has groomed this moment to where it's normal.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know that's
No. You're right. I think you're right.
She calls him on the phone at school and was like, just call him. Just call and say hi. And he's like, go learn something with a little soft smile. Weird. She comes in.
When he sees her pull up, he runs to the door.
He runs down the stairs. And when she opens it, she's like, is Vanessa here? He goes, nope. And she's like, oh, well, good. She's like, good, basically. She's okay, good. Like, we're free to be us. And whether she's like, we're free to be besties or like, we're in this little fantasy world where you're my adult crush or whatever it is, he's cool with it. Takes her to this weird room. And when he starts to like dance, the comic book, I was like, what is happening? And then when they started dancing, that's when I was like, somebody needs to come and just like freaking give the people's elbows.
Well, and two, because like we need to, for people, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but we need to preface this. She says, like, what was your prom like or whatever? Who'd you go with? And he gives the girl's name. And he's like, she was so beautiful. And she lets me put my hands on her butt. Like he says that. And then when they start, and then Juno says, oh, was she like this? And he says, no, it was like this. And he does, like, he puts on a 16-year pregnant girl's butt. Like, that's how he's dancing with her. And I'm going to tell you, I think the greatest movie villain of all time, this is the guy who did it so well, and I still cringe anytime I watch the movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's The Green Mile, and it's Percy. And it's that little just, you want to choke him guard. But in this moment, I hated Jason Bateman almost as much because I thought this is a young pregnant girl, and this dude is just, like, he is pouncing, man. He is playing. I didn't know what he was going to profess in that moment, but I thought he was trying to set something up for down the line. No, he dives right in. Like, hey, I'm leaving her. I thought you'd be happy about it.
And thankfully, this movie did not go down a road like that. It went down. She's like appalled. Just can't even fathom that. She's frustrated, and then like, Vanessa comes home right at the time that she's heading out the door, and then it's like it kind of all hits, and she gets out, she leaves, and she it says that she had that moment in the car, and then drives back with the note, and that was just that was just rough, man.
And I think from Juno's perspective, you could tell from the beginning, she wanted to give this baby to a home that was unlike her home because she didn't want to give it to a broken home. She wanted to give it to two loving parents who are going to raise it and love it well. Even in those moments, she's super sarcastic at the initial home meeting. The one moment she's genuinely like serious and meaningful is when she's like, I just want to give it to two people who are going to love this baby. This of its life. And in that moment, she's like, holy crap, I'm about to give this baby to another broken home. And that's like the most terrifying. That's like her nightmare, is that this baby will grow up in a broken place, when my goal is just, if I'm going to keep this baby with fingernails, it's going to go to a place that's going to be safe and secure. And it's not. And I think that's the moment that shatters a lot of things for her. And
that, like, when he stopped that car, that had to be the toughest moment in a 16-year-old girl's life. Like, I wanted to give this to that, not a broken home, to a loving family. But I've seen this woman who I think would be the best mom in the world. Yes. What I do, like,
I've got chills. Like, I mean, it's just such a chilling moment. Like that. Just thinking about that is such a like sobering thought. And just to move us along. I mean, we could bash Jason Bateman.
Oh, we could.
But like, this does prompt her to go drop the note back off and then have a conversation with her dad about love, because she's just watched what she thought was a perfect thing fall apart, and then it just kind of sends her back home to have a conversation about her broken family and her broken situation, but just like the situation she finds herself in. And I think that's where the next paragraph leads. Did you have something else you want to throw in, Mikey?
No, I thought that we were talking, but we can talk about the paragraph first. Let's go there.
So after a heartfelt discussion with her father, Juno accepts that she loves Polly. Juno then tells Polly she loves him, and Polly's actions make it clear her feelings are very much reciprocated. Not long after, Juno goes into labor and is rushed to the hospital, where she gives birth to a baby boy. She had deliberately not told Polly because of his track meet. Seeing her missing from the stands, Polly rushes to the hospital, finds Juno has given birth to their son, and comforts Juno as she cries. You want me to go ahead and finish this out?
Yeah, let's finish it out.
Vanessa comes to the hospital, where she joyfully claims the newborn baby as a single adoptive mother. On the wall in the baby's new nursery, Vanessa has framed Juno's note, which reads, "Vanessa, if you're still in, I'm still in, Juno." The film ends in the summertime with Juno and Polly playing guitar and singing together in a happy relationship.
Okay, before we talk about the dad, I think that we do need to say one more thing about Bateman and Vanessa, Mark and Vanessa, and that is, in this moment when Juno first runs out that door, we talked about, like, she had a decision to make. What we didn't talk about, and I think it's important to, because up till now, we've talked about how broken and just how, like, on edge and wanting Vanessa is for something, but she put him in his place before Juno walked out, and that needs to be because I think there are so many men like that, dude, who still think they're 22 years old and still think they're going to be these rock stars and they're going to live this life. And I mean, she was like, if I got to wait to be a mother to your Kurt Cobain, it's never going to happen. And I just thought, it was powerful for her in that moment. This is a woman who just had enough. And I mean, she was the hero, like, in that moment. Like, okay, you want out, that's fine. I'm still doing this thing. So I just wanted to touch on that because we've got a lot.
It's really good.
So she has this conversation with her dad, and I think really they're just navigating. It's such a cool moment because it is obviously complicated by a child that is a result of but like, it's a 16-year-old girl and her dad talking about love and figuring out and then he says a line that I just think is so, you then take this line and take it to Mark and Vanessa, and you take this line and you take it to Bren and Mac, and it's just like, that's it. Like, that's the line. And he said, find someone who loves you for exactly who you are. And it's clear that Juno's mom wasn't that girl for Mac. And did not love him for exactly who he was. And it's clear that Bren does. And it's clear that Mark does not love Vanessa for who they are or exactly who she is, because he's not there. He wants to be this rock star still. And so it kind of clicks in her mind that to go confess to Polly, that's where, like, the coming of age 16-year-old girl going to go tell the boy, hey, I really do love you. And
again, that's just J.K. Simmons in this movie. He's a man's man. So this speech is not an eloquent one, but it's exact. Like, I think he even says smoke out your butt or something. But like, it's exactly what you need to hear. And he even touches on what Bradley said earlier. Like, one of the things that drives you kind of crazy about Juno is she is at all times exactly who she is. Like, she doesn't change it no matter what company she's in.
Yeah.
But it's exactly what Dad said in that moment. Like, fine. And he was talking about Bleecker, even though we don't want it. Like, he plays naive, whatever.
Yeah.
He's a pregnant girl, but, like, he knows, like, that boy loves her. And so it's just, it was such a cool moment with that. This was the kind of dad again, and we've seen this all season, but the dads are so good in these movies, man. Like,
or they're not, and the movie's horrible. But like, no, you're right. That it's very much magnified. I didn't mean to cut you off, but there are a couple of times when the dad hadn't been good, and you guys have been like, no, he could have been better.
Well, for sure. But this dad-daughter dynamic was just fantastic. Even though she had the mother figure too at the tech place, like, it's still good to see Dad's on her side, even in this crappiest situation that just keeps getting crappier. But yeah, that's all I got with that.
So what about Bradley? What about you from like the birth scene to the end? I know the end's kind of like the bow, like they're happy, they're teenagers in love, and that's kind of cool. But any thoughts on the whole hospital scene?
I thought that what we're really missing is the ultimate underdog story of Pinocchio winning the state record race and running through a weird finish line. It's like gold rope or something.
And by how far did he win? By what body measurement?
That was so good, Taylor.
Oh my gosh.
Because they called him Pinocchio, and he won by a long
Oh my gosh.
He's never going to win a race because he looks like somebody's aunt in a tracksuit. Like, let's be honest. When he
he did here.
And it was like, whose aunt just showed up in here?
Man, I think that once again, like the movie does gloss over some things, but it also deals with reality. I just thought that even to the end, they just acknowledged, both of them, that the baby wasn't really theirs. That they needed to give that boy to someone who's going to love him. And I just loved the note. I thought that things really picked up speed after that van parked on the side of the street, and I just think that you see her development in a good way, as far as just she makes the decision that this isn't about, Bateman. This is about her. She's made to be a mom, and we started this deal, and we're going to finish it because she really wants a child, and she's seen that the whole time. And so I just thought that was really beautiful and a really cool thing, because I guess the reality is, like, I know what our world views are and our beliefs are, but like the world is not perfect. And the dad acknowledges that yes, you and your mom and I did divorce and it wasn't great, but I do have a woman who I've been with for 10 years who does love me for who I am. And I want you to find that. And J.K. Simmons is just incredible. Anytime he's on the screen, man, it's either meaningful, hilarious, but he just lands it every time. And so,
and again, just to circle back to I read a quote where he literally turned down so much money because he wanted this film to succeed. He believed in the screenplay so much, which is just so interesting, because
that's incredible.
I felt like, like we said, like you guys said, like he didn't make the movie, but he contributed so much to why I love the movie so much. Probably the only reason why you guys may have tolerated the movie, but just reasons why I really liked it.
It ended like it began, with awkwardness and chairs and just so indie vibes of the slow zoom out with the guitars and just, you could barely hear Michael Cera. He was like a soprano. She was an alto. It was great.
Yeah. Also, when that baby was born, like, that looked so realistic to me.
That was insane.
I mean, maybe more so than any movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, it just looked so. Ugh. So I just wanted to touch on that. So, all right. Well, we've hit the movie. Taylor, you got anything you want to add there for the end?
No, I'll save it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Good call, man.
I think
great call.
We should start with Taylor. Give us your final thoughts, your favorite character. Sing us the theme song. Go ahead.
Oh
gosh. Final thoughts. I remember all I remembered of this movie, besides that Ellen Page was in it, and that the plot had to do with teenage pregnancy, was that I liked the movie when I watched it, however long ago I watched it.
Do you remember why?
I don't remember why. And I was hoping that it would be triggered by this discussion, and it's not. But I do know that this has reinforced that I do want to rewatch this movie. I was debating this afternoon whether I was going to stop what I was doing and watch it, and I was like, nah, I'll put it off. We'll see what happens tonight. And
just not to cut you off, but like knowing that statement right there, and just knowing how much you contributed to this podcast, like I MVP, like 3 letters, slow clap, MVP. That's it. I can't believe how well you've contributed, having seen this movie 10 years ago, but still able to contribute so meaningfully and remember so many of the minute details, like the fingernail. I'm really, dude, I'm really glad you're part of this podcast.
Well, thank you. I mean, it is a gift, but I'd be nothing without you guys. Your
And he's
support
humble
in
too.
this, and
Listen to this.
Hey,
guy.
how about that song?
It's a lot of teamwork. I don't feel like it'd be appropriate to do a song because I think that, as Bradley said, that beautiful soprano of Michael Cera's vocal cords just, I think, did everything that needs to be done for this movie. And
That's a wise move.
I don't want to try and one up that.
And hey, man, shout out to Brandon Taylor. Let's just say you can't replace a Brandon Taylor. I don't have any clue why, Mikey, you're trying. That's kind of weird, but man, we can't replace a Brandon, man. We love you. Can't wait to see you again. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure we shouted him out too.
Bradley, why don't you give us your thoughts and stuff on the final ending here?
Okay, so I'm gonna do a 180, and I loved verbally processing with you guys. I love talking with you guys. Extremely awkward situations just make me uncomfortable. And I love The Office, but like even the prime Michael moments still sometimes make me cringe just a little bit. Not enough to where it's not one of my favorite shows of all time, but like even those moments, I'm just like, ugh. And this movie is just full. I'm just like, Juno, just stop. Just give us a moment to breathe. But it doesn't happen. So like this is more of me personally than the movie. But I just saw things, man, like it could still be a weird movie. This thing stayed weird from the beginning and had some great one-liners, great zingers throughout the whole thing. From almost all the characters had some like little zinger that you could go back to. I just think the plot, man, I think there were a couple of scenes, not all of them, but a couple where Juno tried a little bit too hard to be strong and a little weird. I don't think Michael Cera got enough time. I think for like, and you're right, Mikey, this really isn't a romance. Like that doesn't really bud until the end, and you don't see much development of that. And honestly, like there's a couple scenes here and there. The ultrasound scene, yes, the van scene we talked about it, but like you don't necessarily see her mindset throughout the movie of, okay, I'm a pregnant teenager. What does that really mean for my life? Mm-hmm. Like there's way too much of creepy Jason Bateman. I just wish that was gone from my memory. I think that was weird. I think they could have done a lot of things, even to continue to make him a failed husband and still a selfish, immature guy without that angle. For all those reasons, wasn't a super big fan. I loved talking about it with you guys. I'm going to go on the other side of the fence and just say I'm going to give it, well, I say I didn't like it. I'm going to give it a 2. And really, it was going to be like a 1.3, but you guys brought it up, mainly Taylor, but you guys brought it up to a 2 from 0.7 up. Favorite character was the dad. I think J.K. Simmons was awesome. I think the acting was great across the board for everybody, but I just think every time that dad was in a scene, something happened, and it was a moment that you remember, and I just respected the way he handled the entire deal and his wisdom. And he's weirdly soft while still being just a hardened dude, like an HVAC mechanic, but still has this really gentle side to him that only somebody like J.K. Simmons can pull off. So kind of liked it. Didn't love everything about the movie. I know I'm conflicting myself, but that's where I land.
Yeah.
Guy friendly.
I think you could have seen a little more development in Michael Cera in that relationship and him coming to terms with like, if I'm going to be a father, if I'm not, how do I support Juno from a distance? Like just seeing some of that more. I think it would have been funny. Sometimes I try to come up with different scenes. I think if we didn't even touch on this, but there's just 2 little things where that jock guy like makes fun of her. And she's these jocks always want the weird girl. They're just too cool to admit it kind of deal. And in the end, when they're kissing, you see a scene of him looking down. Like it would have been cool if at some point the jock guy came in, was a little too aggressive, a little too hitting on, and Michael Cera just comes out of his shell and is like, listen, bro, back off. And does, I think that would have been making it more guy friendly.
If we would have seen way too big.
You know what movie that would have been? That would have been 10 Things I Hate About You.
You know what? I don't get to do the guy friendly anymore, but this is what
please
I
let
wish.
me know.
I wish after the scene in the attic, the dance, JK would have visited Bateman.
Oh man.
Yes.
This would have turned into a murder.
That's it.
It would have changed.
I wanted to see, because the whole time you think this is a dad that's going to lose it, but he keeps it together. But you know that there's anger brewing. And if he had told him that, that's when it would have just unleashed.
And to piggyback off that, what if at the very end they're all walking out, Vanessa's carrying the baby, and you walk past a hospital room, just a bruised up, like casted up Bateman,
Incredible.
and the dad just looks at it and nods and then walks on.
Would that have brought your score up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like a 2.4 or something, probably.
I would have brought it up. Yeah. At least that. So,
Mike, you want me to go or do you want to go?
It doesn't matter.
I'll go because I think for some of the reasons that Bradley doesn't love this movie or like this movie, I did love it. I think so. Setting some of my personal convictions not aside, but understanding that this movie was not what it was about. I do think that it. Like I will acknowledge that they gloss over some things that are just really like even. I mean, we kind of. The whole Bateman thing, like that was something that we kind of beleaguered that point a little bit. But I think that so they do gloss over that stuff. But the movie was about a girl's pregnancy, giving that child up for adoption, and so just a couple of like just tidbits from my end. Watching it on this end of adoption, like having gone through a couple of failed matches, like I saw Jennifer Garner in a completely different light this time. Whereas the first few times I watched it, I was like, gosh, she's so high strung. Like, and then, like, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but like having been on this side and seeing a couple failed matches, like I get her like high strungness, and so that was interesting for me to see that. I did love the little things that this movie played, like even the fingernails part is something I picked up on for the first time this time. And I just thought that was so cool how that is what stuck with her, like the fingernail part. And it did, like, I know it was so casual in the nature that it dealt with such a big topic like abortion. She didn't abort the child. And like, it was because she recognized the life that was in her. So I did like want to just give the nod to that. Like, okay, like this movie's not about that. So they didn't hit on that. Let's see. I thought that there was one part that we didn't really touch on. The song that they danced to was all I could think about was the scene of Tommy Boy, and it was the "Don't you remember?" It was such a creepy version of "Don't you remember you told me you loved me, baby?" And I thought that was so weird. It's the Carpenters, but all I could think about was Tommy Boy when they're in the
Wow.
David Spade and Chris Farley in the car singing.
That's awesome.
So I'll kind of leave
your
like
first
that.
comp then?
No, it's unfortunately not. No. And then there was one thing that I just thought was strange. I thought that, and I'm curious your all's thoughts. The framing of that note over the crib of the bed, I thought that was just a really strange thing, a strange reminder of like how broken that situation was. Like, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of that.
Right. But I think the only reason that happened, and maybe I give it more of a pass because of that, is because she said, I can't wait to hang a family picture above it. And then he almost took the family away from it. Had it not been for that note that got to be there, she'd have never had her family.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing to hang. It is, but I think for the movie, it was sentimental.
Right on par for the movie. The only other, this is the line, I know I said this already. So this was the funniest thing for me in the whole thing. And Claudia got a phone call when we were watching it. And so I paused the movie, and we were watching it on Amazon Prime. And so when you pause the movie, it'll show you like the people, like it'll credit the people who are in the scene, or maybe the song is being played. And so it was the scene where she's giving the ultrasound to Vanessa as she's showing her. And there's a guy, Matthew Sanders. He's attributed as the sonogram. Like, this guy was actually attributed as the person who was in the sonogram, which I thought was just so hilarious. I would have never seen that if it wasn't part of the Amazon Prime feature where it just tells you. So I thought that was so funny. I really like the movie. One of these we didn't touch on at all. It really sold the indie part is the soundtrack, and maybe that turned you guys off from it. Taylor, I wondered if maybe that was something that the music was something that you remembered about it that you liked. Clearly it wasn't because you don't remember it. But I thought the soundtrack was just very, very indie. And overall, I think the way that it navigated Juno's character, and yeah, she had some weird things with Jason Bateman, but just like she went through a really interesting, a really tough decision. And I just think, again, for my personal Christian values and convictions, like the like celebrating adoption, like the recognition and self-awareness that like I'm just not fit to be a parent. Like I just thought that was cool how they brought that to bear. And so I was a big fan that she still gave the child to Vanessa. There was a couple of times when with all the snow that I thought she was going to fall down and hurt herself and hurt the child. Like I just I remember being so tense when the moment she leaves and she sneaks out that she was going to get hurt. And I just remember being so torn about that. We'll go comps. So we kind of touched on some of these, and I think that first of all, the awkwardness, Bradley, that you like aren't a big fan of, I love and embrace. And so that's part of the reason why I really enjoyed this movie was because of some of the awkward stuff. But I think from a strong female awkward character, it would be remiss if we didn't compare it to 500 Days of Summer with Zooey Deschanel. Now, I like Juno way more than I like Zoe. Zoe's character, Jess or whatever her name. No, Jess is the new girl. Whatever her character's name. Oh, Summer's her name.
Summer.
Thank you.
I remember either.
So I did like this one a lot better than that, but I got the same like strong lead, very like strong character, and just very comfortable in exactly who they are, which I have a lot of respect for. The Napoleon Dynamite was not one that I had on my radar, but I think that's one that we have to put. I didn't think about it just because Napoleon is kind of in his class of his own, and it wasn't. I mean, it's interesting, like how I'd never even thought of that movie when I was watching this, but I think it does have a lot of comparisons with Napoleon Dynamite. Just the indie nature of it, the strange high school vibe action, like just the weird kid in high school. Anyway, I like that a lot. And then To All the Boys I've loved before. I know you guys weren't fans of the dad in that movie, but I thought the way the dad navigated, just again J.K. Simmons really and Bren, they both really sold this movie in the way that they were dealt a really tough situation, and they just I was so proud, like I of them as parents, which sounds weird to say because it's a movie, but like it was really cool to see them respond with truth, but also with grace. Like I think this movie is not Christian in a lot of ways, but like the way that as parents they balanced grace and truth in that whole thing, I thought was really cool. I watched the movie. I enjoyed it. If it were on again and I were flipping through and it was on, I'd watch it again. I'm going to give it a 4. I think for what the movie is, a 16-year-old girl who's pregnant, going through all that stuff. It's a little bit crazy to think that all that would happen. But nonetheless, it happens, and so, that's what the movie was about. So I think it was a lot dramatic for me in those things, like the way they glossed over. I wasn't a big fan of, a lot of the issues that came up in it. But I did enjoy the movie, so I'm giving it a 4.
Who's your favorite?
Oh, my favorite character. Man, that's a really good question. I think I'll go with the parent dynamic. I think I was just a really big fan of the way that I feel like you might say the dad as well, and I feel like we would all agree that the dad was awesome. But I really think the stepmom was really cool, and the way she handled that scene was one of my favorites. Just seeing her take up for her daughter. So I'll say just her parents. So favorite characters were her parents, and the way they bounced off that. Although I thought Juno was incredible. I thought Ellen Page did an amazing job acting in this movie and portraying her. But I'm going to go the parents. I just was so drawn to them.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I'll go unsung. I'll do unsung first. Okay. Do you guys have any idea who this should be? The unsung hero, just from watching the movie? I'm curious.
Leah.
Okay. Well, I won't even ask you why. Bradley?
I'm trying to get in the mind of Mikey Black.
I know.
And I'm wondering if it's Dwight in some roundabout way. And
Taylor?
Yeah.
Dwight's what I think you think it is, but I think I would go with the single protest vigil girl makes the fingernail comment.
I hate him, but he's right. It's Sue Chen. Sue Chen is the unsung hero of this movie.
Taylor. What in the world, man? Like, you are just crushing this today.
Somebody cool that guy off. He is on fire.
Not been for Sue Chin. Who knows? I mean, this whole movie falls apart, and poor old Jennifer Garner never gets a win. So Sue Chin, literally, is the hero we all need. This world needs more Sue Chins. I'd put that on a T-shirt and I'd wear it everywhere. We need more Sue Chins. My favorite character. I love J.K. Simmons, obviously, but I just got to look at the movie as a whole, because 9 times out of 10 I would say Dwight, just because everything he said was hilarious. But I think, and this might be the first time in the history of any movie I've watched, that my favorite character was the person that I liked the least when it started, and that was Garner. Like, by the end of this movie, I wanted her to win so bad, man. And so, like, I championed her. And so when it started, I thought, man, I'm going to dread every scene she's in. And by the end, I couldn't have been happier for the lady. So she was my favorite character.
There was definitely some, like, the development of her character was
sure.
one that awesome. I think everybody can just be like, oh man, that's great.
Yeah. Final thoughts. Yeah, and you kind of started with this, Nate, because you said we hadn't talked about it. This soundtrack was rough.
Yes.
Like, I struggled hard with this soundtrack. Bateman was one of the most despicable characters in cinema history to me. Bleecker would be like if Walt Disney drew a human Christopher Robin and put him on the scene. That's Michael Cera. Juno is like just the most angsty, her personality is just tough to watch. But at the same time, that's what made all those things together is what made this movie work. Are they things that I enjoy? Not really. But this movie's not what it needs to be. Had all those things. Like, this is the kind of soundtrack a movie like this needed. You need him to be a character you hate. Juno has to be that kind of girl. And what I liked about it is, if this is kind of the director writing her biography the way she wished she would have, like, girls, like the outcast girls never are that strong-willed. Like, if you worked in school or like, they never have that personality where they don't care and like they win and they get to shine, and the Bleekers like they're the it girl. And in this movie, she got like everything that this movie needed to be. It was. Now it's not a movie like that I'm going to go out and watch a lot. Here's where this movie was saved, though, in areas, because up to this point, even with me giving it the positives, there's still more I just didn't. I mean, it's not clicking with me. But this movie did better than most movies we've watched is background characters. Like, normally you throw a background character in a movie and you just don't remember it. There's nothing really to them. The quirky characters this movie did was better than most any movie you've seen. You had Dwight in the gas station, and he was just phenomenal in everything. He said, you had the VJ guy, like, did you hear your dad? You had her friend who had a crush on the old chubby teacher, which was weird, but she was just a quirky character. You had the lab partners. You even had, and even now, I don't know the point to this character, but you had her little sister, Liberty Bell, who I'm pretty sure the whole point was they just wanted there to be a dumb toddler. Like, well, she ain't real bright, but that's my sister. I don't get it. But the other thing I really did like is just the stuff that they don't normally do in these movies. And we kind of talked about it, but you had the rough and gruff dad who had a tender side, and you had a stepmom to where, like you said, you felt like that little bit of tension. But normally TV, movies, whatever, when it comes to teens and step parents, they hate each other.
Yeah.
That was like, there was that one scene where there was like, you kind of wondered, but other than that, like they had each other's backs.
Yeah.
Like, this movie just, it just felt like the most dysfunctional family any movie I've ever seen. And so I'm gonna give it a 3-4. I liked it. I don't know. I mean, if it was on TV and there was nothing else to watch, I might watch it again. It wasn't what I thought it would be, though, for better or for worse. And so I think I'm just middle of the road with it.
Bradley, are you surprised by that?
Of Mikey?
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. I thought you were going less than Bradley.
No,
I don't think so, though. I tell you, there's a lot of good qualities in this movie, man. I'm not going to see. Talking with y'all made me like it more, but I am pretty staunch on my 2. So
I think that right there tells you that we did a good job. That's why we have three different personalities watching a movie. I have an idea for the 3rd season that once we get off of here, I'm gonna float it and see how it lands. And that'll be the tease of the century right there.
it's weird because normally I'm never middle of the road. I can't think
That's true.
Exactly.
that I fall this way, but I just Taylor, we're not even going to ask you because you already said you'd watch it now. But I think we did it. I think we did Juno, and I think we did it justice.
Really like this one. It's a good part.
Yeah, Mark, we did. I mean, we're gonna have to go by and pay homage to Mark Loring's tombstone, though, because we did him wrong. I mean, we let him know.
We did.
And while we're doing that, I'm gonna go put flowers on Paulie Bleeker's headstone because you just destroyed him for whatever reason.
He's just I can't take him serious. Like
He doesn't demand to be taken serious.
Right.
Did you ever watch the cartoon Recess?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know the teacher who she had that real little like nerdy boy sidekick? That's
Yeah.
Bleeker was a cartoon. Like that little just
I disagree.
so anyway.
Wow, this is just falling off them hinges.
Little teaser here. Next episode is Bradley's episode. So you've seen my movie, you've seen Nate's movie, you've seen Taylor's, you've seen Brandon's. Next episode.
Well, let's before you reveal it, Bradley.
Oh,
Did
no,
you reveal it?
I can
okay.
reveal it. I'm not revealing it.
I'm just letting them know.
Nope.
Like it's next. So
I was trying to remember what movies, like how did they land? How did the movies we chose land on us? You chose Dan in Real Life, which Bradley wasn't around for, but we all pretty well liked that, right?
Brandon was the one that liked it the least. But
Which was interesting to me.
Yeah.
Taylor, you chose, what was yours? Big Fat Greek Wedding? Yeah. Which, how did that land? Did you like that one, Mikey?
I can't remember what I said. I
didn't like it. I don't think you liked it, Mikey.
I didn't feel like
middle of the road for everyone. Like I felt like everyone else's response other than mine was like okay to good.
Yeah.
I give it 5.
You did Rodin.
Did I?
Yes.
You did.
Claudia loves that movie.
Yeah, maybe we got destroyed. I got destroyed on that one.
So-
but I made it for a good podcast, I think.
We need Bradley to bring it, man.
Yeah, man. Oh, I have no doubt.
No pressure.
Yeah.
All right, well, there it is, folks. This has been a talk to remember. You may not remember the movie, but we hope you remember the talk.
For romance, somehow these dudes are our only hope.
I hope you do not remember the movie, but you know the talk. Bye.